of tens of thousands of civilians by the LTTE after entering the no-fly zone in the early hours of Monday with the capture of the 3-kilometer-long earth bund built by the LTTE terrorists in Pudumatalan and Ampalawan Pokkane. Troops attached to the 5-8 Division of the Sri Lanka Army under the command of Brigadier Shavindra Silva were able to open the gates of the no-fly zone without shedding a single drop of blood of the civilians, which was totally an unexpected situation for the international community who were fearing a bloodbath in the no-fly zone. With the gates to the no-fly zone in Pudumatalan and Ampalawan Pokkane were opened by the troops attached to the 5-8 Division, along with commando troops and Special Forces troops, an avalanche of civilians started to flood into the Security Forces controlled areas through the Security Forces defences in Ampalawan Pokkane and Pudumatalan Monday morning. According to a senior military official, the security forces witnessed civilians exceeding 35,000 flooding into the military-controlled areas in Ampalawan Pokkane. President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who arrived at the Sri Lanka Air Force headquarters Monday morning, witnessed the freedom march of the civilians. It was one of the dreams of the security forces in their 2.5-year-long march to liberate Wanni from the operations room through the visuals of unmanned aerial vehicle of the Sri Lanka Air Force flying over the skies of the no-fly zone. Even the international media had the opportunity to witness what was happening inside the no-fly zone through the UAV visuals to get a clear picture of the situation and present it to the international community. The visuals of the no-fly zone, which were made available to media personnel by the Sri Lanka Air Force, very clearly indicated the way thousands of civilians line up to arrive at the cleared areas. More than 35,000 civilians trapped inside the no-fly zone were able to reach the security forces controlled areas through military checkups by Monday afternoon, whilst another 20,000 to 30,000 people are waiting to enter security forces controlled areas through Ampalawan Pokkane and Pudumatalan. Civilians were checked and welcomed by the troops both at Ampalawan Pokkane and Pudumatalan, whilst providing them with drinking water and fresh meals on arrival. Aerial visuals also displayed civilians gathering at the coastal belt, expecting to be rescued by boats, whilst another section of civilians crossing the Nandi Kadal Lagoon and Pudumatala Lagoon to reach military-controlled areas. The security forces were able to rescue more than 62,000 within the last 48 hours, and more than 10,000 other civilians are waiting to reach the security forces controlled areas. This brings the total number of civilians who fled the LTTE grip to over 122,000. A huge influx of civilians were reported from the 5-8 Division area, as more than 1 kilometer long queue to enter security forces held areas was witnessed. The security forces engaged in this humanitarian operation facilitated the arrival of tens of thousands of civilians into military-controlled areas by providing them with water and food as they reached the security forces controlled areas crossing the lagoon in Pudumatalan and Ampalawan Pokkane area. The operation to rescue the civilians trapped inside the no-fly zone was planned in such a way that civilians could reach the military-controlled areas by land and also by sea, as ground troops manned the beach fronts without enabling the LTTE to prevent the fleeing civilians by sea. The army commander said that the security forces are expecting another 10,000 civilians from the safety zone within the course of the next few hours, leaving all the tiger leaders there in the no-fly zone. The 5-8 division, which started the humanitarian operation from Mana in the western coast, made a record, reaching the eastern coast of the no-fire zone after a 175-kilometer march from Mana to Pudumathalan. The government said that their early preparations to cater to an unexpected exodus of displaced civilians had paid rich dividends in successfully meeting the needs of more than 49,000 IDPs who had arrived from Mullaitivu since yesterday evening. Disaster Relief Services Minister Amir Ali said authorities had made the preparations in advance to cater to an expected influx of 58,000 IDPs. At some point, security forces ran out of capacity to check the civilians in thousands, and reinforcements and medical teams were airlifted to the area to attend the welfare matters of the civilians. Meanwhile, President Mahinda Rajapaksa has directed the relevant authorities to provide all necessities to the displaced civilians arriving from safe zone in the Mullaitivu district. He has instructed the Commissioner General of Essential Services, S. Divaratna, to ensure that necessary food, medicine and other essentials to be provided in adequate quantities to the people. President Mahinda Rajapaksa has also given orders to provide immediate medical assistance to those who have been injured due to LTTE suicide bombings and gunfire directed at fleeing civilians. Thus, the government has put in place certain mechanisms to cater to exodus, with Wanni being prepared as a humanitarian assistance hub. The prime objective of the Sri Lankan government and its troops is to rescue few thousands of innocent Tamil civilians in the no-fire zone who had been kept hostage by the ruthless LTTE terrorists during the past 3 decades. It will be a dawn of a new era which will provide our Tamil brothers and sisters the most wanted freedom at last.